Hello, everybody. Recently, Pixar came out with their new movie, Luca, which I watched like a week after it came out and promptly became obsessed with. Now, this happened to me with Coco, too. So it's not necessarily a new experience, but I had never really had like an official Pixar ranking in my mind. And like having this jump so high on like the very first viewing was kind of bizarre to me. So I had this idea of like watching all the Pixar movies, seeing if I was just really liking it because it was brand new. I decided to watch all the Pixar films and like rank them. I made some notes. These are all really good movies. And it felt so weird having to compare like different movies to each other and like give them like a score or a grade or something, or put one in front of the other. So I did a tier list. I have my own categories though. And it is kind of like a grade-based system. It's more like a grade-based system. I mean, that is what tier ranking is. But it's not like my first favorite Pixar movie and like my 10th favorite Pixar movie. Although I think it kind of turned out that way. Like, it's weird to compare art versus art, but like, I did the tier ranking in like, this is my number one, this is my number two, this is my number three. And then category two is like, this is my number one of category two. So it's basically a Pixar ranking list. This is my list that I will send my therapist. You can have your list that you send your therapist. Whatever. Let's do this. I decided to watch these in release order because I thought it would only be fair. Because the whole point of this was like, is Luca really that good? Or is it just new? And I thought it would just be a lot clearer to me in my mind if I did this on release order. So the first movie I watched was Toy Story, which I was kind of skeptical going into the Toy Story films because I just think a lot of people have a lot of nostalgia for Toy Story. And sometimes nostalgia is misplaced. Or people have nostalgia goggles on and they can't really, I'm not going to say judge critically, but like sometimes it clouds their vision. I don't have a lot of nostalgia for Toy Story. I mean, I'm a suburban kid who grew up, I was born in 98, so I obviously have nostalgia for Toy Story. But the original Toy Story I hadn't seen since I was a kid. But Toy Story 2, I grew up with that. Like, that was the Toy Story movie I watched all the time. Pleasantly surprised me with its dark humor. I feel like the animation on the toys is really well done. Not on, like, any living creature. It's very outdated in that sense. But, like, it's incredible what they did with that technology at that time, with the toys and like every non-human thing. Every human thing is a bit iffy. I especially liked the dark humor. I think this movie stands up, what's the term? Stands up? Then I watched Bug's Life, which opened up with like Walt Disney Presents, which was weird. Maybe Toy Story opened that way too. I don't know. For some reason, I was under the assumption that Disney didn't like acquire Pixar till like Finding Nemo or something. But that's not the case. This opens with Walt Disney Presents, and it's about like bugs working for grasshoppers. Coincidence? I think not. I really liked the villain in this movie, but I didn't like the main character. Listen, I like this movie in theory. Revolution. bards, charlatans, revolution. But like in practice, this is just an average movie at best. The main character, I like the idea of outsmarting your opponents, and he's got a little bit of that going on. But I kind of wish he was like an actual liar rather than this being like miscommunication. So, Toy Story earns its place on greats, classics, etc. Bug's Life, unfortunately, due to how this lines up with all the rest of the movies, ends up in the do I care category. Because, like, it could have been good. Like I said, revolution, liars, cheaters, etc. But there weren't actually a lot of liars and cheaters and etc. And there wasn't actually a lot of revolution. A girl can dream. Now, the next film is Toy Story 2, which is the Toy Story movie I grew up on. And I mean, it lives up to my nostalgia of it. And it earns its place in greats, classics, etc. I think this is the most consistently entertaining Toy Story film. It's great. It's more family humor than the dark humor of Toy Story past. But, you know, it works. I'm not mad at it. And it's got animated bloopers in the credits. Come on now. We gotta talk about the credits for these movies. Also, the score for Pixar films, incredible. Credits for Bug's Life are kind of funny because they're just like showing off plant technology. Which I can't blame them for. Those plants look great. Then there's Monsters, Inc., which was my favorite movie when it came out. Monsters, Inc. is so creative and funny and beautiful and breathtaking, and it's in the greats, classics, etc. ranking right above Toy Story 2. And yes, Toy Story 2 wins out over Toy Story because, okay, here's why. It's not nostalgia goggles, okay? I renounce nostalgia goggles. There's just more going on. The side characters have more going on. It's high energy all the time. It's just, I don't know, it's just so much better. It's just better. It's just better, you know? It's just better, okay? It's okay, it's my personal ranking. Finding Nemo, oh my god. The next movie was Finding Nemo. And this is going in greats, classics, etc. This is a great ranking video. Nothing will go wrong. Everything is great. Everything is positive. Finding Nemo goes to the top of the list automatically of greats, classics, etc. Let me tell you why. The side quests in this movie, not side quests, but like, you're on a journey in this movie, right? And like, there are obstacles in your journey, right? In this movie, all the obstacles are like weird, stupid, fun characters that, I don't know, it's just like sequence after sequence of pure fun. It's incredible. Like, there's a movie that we'll get to that I wish was like a bit more like Finding Nemo. We got a long way to go, but it's like there's a journey, there's obstacles in the journey. Some of them are good and some of them are bad. Finding Nemo, all of the obstacles are like fun, you know, high hopes. Then we have The Incredibles, which I'm happy to tell you, we've got our first Brad tier ranking. The Incredibles goes in the Brad tier because this is Brad Bird. For a while, The Incredibles and Ratatouille were my favorite Pixar movies of all time. Well, I don't know. The Incredibles definitely was my favorite Pixar movie forever. Brad category's got some iffy stuff going on in there, you know? But the Brad category is also second best, so. Okay. Then we have Cars, which I remember liking when I saw it in theaters as a kid, but I was not one of those kids that was obsessed with Cars. Never got the DVD of it. I did like it as a kid though. Now, this goes in the this is a movie category. The interesting thing about Cars is that, okay, most of the time in Pixar movies, the score is incredible. The soundtrack, incredible. And you can tell that. You can usually tell based on the opening number. The opening number in Cars is like this poppy country kind of song, and I immediately did not like it. And then I was like, oh, but if I remember the character development of Cars correctly, maybe the soundtrack will reflect that. You know, in movies when mainly most of the time score reflects character arc, that maybe they would do something interesting with like the soundtrack, the lyrics, not even the lyrics, just like the feel of the music. But it's just annoying all throughout. I didn't have any notes about the movie other than the soundtrack. The other note I had was I cried? ? I did cry. I cried in a lot of these movies. I have to talk about the reputation that Pixar has of like making you cry. So Pixar has this reputation of like making you cry. I have notes about this. Let me read you them. Let me read you a story. Okay, these are my notes. I'm gonna read them. Don't get Pixar's reputation of making you cry. That's like a very recent, kind of inaccurate measure that leads to pressure on the creative side of things and ultimately disappointment on the consumer level. And honestly, why I think people are so dismissive of Luca when honestly, it's okay. I wrote this before I watched all the Pixar films, which honestly is the most Pixar-feeling Pixar movie in quite a while. And yeah, I don't know what that means either. Maybe it's my childhood nostalgia bleeding into when some of the greats were being released. Those are my notes. I have, now that I wrote that after watching Bug's Life. And then I watched the rest of the movies. But I still have this feeling that Pixar has this reputation of making you cry. And I feel like it's because Up was released back to back with something. Give me 1 second. I have the Wikipedia page up. Toy Story 3. Okay. Up and Toy Story 3 were released back to back. And I feel like that is when Pixar got its reputation of making you cry. And that's like unfair. Because what movies came before? Toy Story 2? They don't, like, all the Pixar movies have, not all of them, but like most of them have scenes or sequences that could maybe make you cry and make me cry because I cry during movies. Like Toy Story 2 definitely has a scene that could make you cry, you know? Cars made me cry at the final race. Even though Lightning McQueen, I get it. Listen, I get that press would probably be swarming him, but he could have easily won the race and like went right back. That's not the point. But like you could have your cake and eat it too, my dude. Okay. Cars goes in the this is a movie category. Spoiler alert, it's the best of the this is a movie category. If you didn't want that spoiled, we're moving on to Ratatouille, which is Ratatouille. Ratatouille is in the Brad category. It's the first one in the Brad category. It's better than The Incredibles. The Incredibles was my favorite Pixar movie for quite a while. It was even above Ratatouille upon this rewatch. It ain't it. I mean, The Incredibles. Ain't it? Because of like... Okay, the Brad category is filled out, by the way. There's only 2 movies in the Brad category. I know that Brad Bird has made another movie. It doesn't go in the Brad category, okay? There's only 2 movies in the Brad category. Ratatouille's number 1. You want to know why Ratatouille's number 1? Because the only iffy politics about it is that stealing when you're starving is bad. Like, he had the bread in his little rat hands. Okay? It's also in the Brad category and not the Bob category. We haven't had anything in the Bob category yet. Listen, it's in there because okay, I'm gonna try to explain this. The Act 2, Act 3 interpersonal conflict was misarranged. It was like, it could have been ordered to make sense. Luna, what's wrong with you? Could have been ordered to make sense. Luna, it doesn't make sense. It's like he falls off a motorbike and then he's fine with Linguini. Remy falls off a motorbike and he's like, the next scene, again, I've watched so many movies in between this movie and Luca, okay? He falls off a motorbike and then, like, a few scenes later, he's completely fine with Linguini, and then he's suddenly not fine with Linguini getting all the credit, even though Remy is a rat. Like, how do you think you getting the credit would go down at this point in the movie? Are you kidding? So, like, the character conflict that drives them apart, you know, the Act 3 split. It's just weird. It's just weirdly ordered. So that's why it's in the Brad category, not the Bob category. But it is a good film. Ratatouille is Ratatouille, you know? Alright. Our next movie is WALL-E, and it's Bob. WALL-E is Bob. What did I even have to write? I just wrote the movie. WALL-E is about robots. So it's Bob. I'm just kidding. I used to think that the beginning of this movie and the rest of it were like kind of disjointed. I have a similar opinion on another movie coming up. Both of those theories were tested upon this rewatch and both kind of crumbled. I think the split between the beginning and the rest of the movie was well done and not as jarring as I thought. Like, I used to love WALL-E, but like not put it up at the top, because I much preferred like the 10-minute silent film to the rest of the movie. But I like it. I still don't know how I feel about the human characters. I like the captain. It's beautiful. It's so cute, and I love it. And WALL-E is Bob. Okay, WALL-E is Bob. Okay, speaking of which, the next movie, Up, felt kind of disjointed for a while for me. And this used to be the Pixar movie I was kind of bitter about being overhyped. That title now belongs to something else. Has for a while. But upon rewatch, it was goodly done. It goes in the goodly done category. I like how whimsical this is. I wish more Pixar films were like allowed to be like just bizarre. Like, this feels, I don't know, it has a different feel. And this is always the score I remember. Like that one, you know the song I'm thinking of. So this is goodly done. It's still not as great as people overhype it to be. a lot of people, like, you know, there's a difference between watching something emotional and watching something good. But Up is, it's good. It's not great. It's good. It's cute. Okay, coming off the heels, obviously WALL-E didn't really have an Act 3 character conflict, but coming off the heels of like Ratatouille, which didn't really handle it well, I liked how this was handled because Carl is so like well established, well developed. It feels realistic of how he would act in that situation. I liked how it was done. Like, it earned points from coming off of Ratatouille. Even though Ratatouille is higher up on the list, like, the rest of the movie is better than the rest of Up. I think Up does the Act 3 character conflict better. Then Toy Story 3. So, Up and Toy Story 3 back to back. That's why everybody thinks Pixar is like home of the crying films. Toy Story 3 is interesting. It goes in greats, classics, etc., but it's behind Toy Story 2 and Toy Story. Toy Story 3 only gets like entertaining in the second half, like fun-wise. Like it's basically you're breaking out of a prison. It's really good. But the conflict in the beginning was, I don't know why they chose everybody thinking Woody was lying about the attic. When it could have been like, do you want to live in an attic or do you want to get played with every day? Like, that is enough conflict to drive these toys apart. It was just weird. It was just a weird conflict at the beginning that I didn't gel with. And then the themes are kind of like a retread of some story elements that are present in Toy Story 2. But I will say there's a difference between having these themes told to you and then like actually experiencing them. Toy Story 2 is like, one day Andy won't have a use for you anymore. Are you cool with that? And then Toy Story 3 is like, today Andy doesn't have a use for you. So it is different, and it's really good. And I remember Lotso Huggabear, if that is his real name, being more of a twist villain than he actually is. Cars 2. It could have been much worse. Like, I was expecting much worse. But the thing about Cars 2 is that Lightning McQueen, he feels written as a side character. He doesn't feel like a real character. We'll get more into that as more sequels start popping up. Specifically the sequels where like a main character from the first movie is now a side character in the second movie. All of the emotion in this movie, feels forced. I will give it points for having an evil billionaire, but in the next movie, spoiler alert, there's a completely good billionaire. Next, we have Brave, which goes in the goodly done category. Surprisingly, a lot of people put Brave very low on their lists. I was cautious going into this movie because like, it was a behind-the-scenes mess, and they should have kept like the original creators, you know, for such a mess that it was in pre-production or whatever. It's a good movie, although it should have been named The Bear and the Bow, right? And I don't think it's as redundant of Brother Bear as people say it is. I just think that the one river scene is like, I'm watching Brother Bear. I'm watching Scottish Brother Bear. I like the atmosphere, and I like the character conflict in the front portion, And then once mom turns into bear, and that's the character conflict. In the beginning, we have something interesting going on, and then there's a bear. Monsters University also goes in the goodly done category. It's right behind Brave. Monsters University is a good movie. It's also it's like I've seen this movie before. But I like how the consequences are real, you know? Sometimes in movies, the consequences aren't real. In this movie, the consequences are real. Like, they get expelled. And then they have to find an alternate path. That meant a lot to me when I saw it in theaters in high school. Like, they actually got expelled, and they actually had to find, like, an alternate path to get what they want. I liked it. And I like Dan Scanlon. Spoiler alert, I like Dan Scanlon. I want him to do another Pixar movie. I just want to see, you know, I just want to see. All right. Here comes Inside Out. Everybody loves Inside Out, dudes. And I will say, after having watched every Pixar film, it makes me forgive this movie a lot, but it's still in the do I care category. It's at the front. It's at the very front of the do I care category because there's more movies that I care less about. Here's the thing about Inside Out. I like the out portion of Inside Out, and I don't like the inside portion. I like the creativity of the world. That's about it. I think, here's what I will say. I don't think any Pixar movie is subtle with its themes at all. But Inside Out, bro, I just feel like I would be much more affected by the story if it was Riley's story. Why are you scared of having, like, a kid-centric emotional kids movie? Like, kids, I don't know, it's just so weird. It's so weird. I would probably love Inside Out if it was Riley, you know, if it was all Riley. But it's not about Riley. It's about Riley's emotions, like, her physically. And I don't like it, and I don't care about Bing Bong. I never cared about Bing Bong. Everybody's like, Bing Bong. Oh my god, you people are annoying. These types of movie where the metaphor is like this real thing or something just feels like I'm watching it in a health class, which is fine. You know, we need movies about mental health in health classes. But I don't, like, it's not even fun entertaining. It feels like I'm being lectured at. I like when Riley acts like a teenager. I don't like her emotion. Like, you know what? Whatever. Next movie is Good Dinosaur, which, watching this, I immediately liked the concept of it, and then 10 more seconds went by and and then dinosaurs were farming, like humans farm. It's not even that they were farming, it's like they were farming like humans farm, like a humans farm. Which is fine, I got over it. Because it's like, whatever, it's a kids' movie. I watched stuff like this all the time growing up. I don't care. The Good Dinosaur is just boring. But, okay, it goes in the Do I Care category, but it's above Cars 2. It's below Bug's Life because I care about Bug's Life more. If you were to say, hey, you can either rewatch A Bug's Life or The Good Dinosaur, I'd be like, I'm watching Bug's Life, dude. The Good Dinosaur has, like, one redeeming scene. 2 redeeming scenes? I don't know. They're kind of parallels of each other. And if you've seen the movie, you know which scenes I'm talking about. The only good scenes in the movie. First of all, and second of all, and third of all, I don't know why they made these children characters do drugs. I'm just gonna put that out there. Fifth of all, I like the stick family scenes. They're cute. Had to move locales because my brother barged in, but I'm back. And I'm just gonna trust that I covered The Good Dinosaur because I don't remember where I left off. Next we come to Finding Dory, which has a similar issue to Cars 2 with the protagonists of the first movie being side characters in the second movie and like feeling very written, like their conflict with the main character feeling very not unnatural, like they would probably do and say these things, but the way they do and say these things are like so obviously pushed to the watchers, and it's like it feels like forced conflict rather than natural conflict. I don't know how to put that. It's just like the main characters that are in sequels as side characters feel off for some reason. I don't know why. But the rest of the characters in Finding Dory, the rest of the side characters, are fun and interesting. Not as fun and interesting as the original. I mean, Hank is pretty much up there, but he's the only one that really stands out. Finding Dory goes in the This Is a Movie category. Next we have Cars 3, which it wasn't surprising to me that I liked it because I heard a bit about Cars 3 at least being better than Cars 2, but like being a good movie. This still goes in the This Is a Movie category. It's also second place to Cars. I still like the original Cars better. It kind of depends on what story you're more into. I feel like you'd like Cars 3 if you like the original Cars. It's the best sequel. Also, Cars 2 is completely skippable. I didn't know that going in. I thought they would maybe do at least something to tie in Cars 2 to Cars 3, but it's completely skippable. So if you don't want to see it, you don't have to. You could just see Cars and Cars 3, and it works. It works as a sequel. Works more because the protagonist is still the protagonist. What was I saying? It depends on what kind of story you prefer. As a younger person, I like the asshole protege type story over worldly mentor story. Does that make sense? I don't know. I like Cars better, but Cars 3 is super fun. I think it's the more fun and more entertaining movie. It's just, I like the character development of the first Cars over the character development of Cars 3. So, for me, it's second best. Next we have Coco, which I love Coco. When I first saw Coco came out in 2017. I saw it in 2018. I watched it a lot in 2018. It's a very personally favorite movie for personal reasons. And for those same personal reasons, I still haven't shown my mom this movie. But it goes in Bob. I'm like kind of reluctant to say that this goes in Bob. Bob, by the way, stands for Best of Best. I don't know if I ever explained these categories, and I'm so sorry. Coco is Bob. I was kind of, when I did the rewatch, when I did all of these movies, I rewatched all of them. I'm kind of iffy on putting Coco and Bob. But for the movie that it is, in the time that I needed it, it's Bob. I still love it. It's got kind of like that bridge, that whole bridge. I mean, it's the entire like obstacle of the movie, but it is like kind of a bit weird, you know? Like the bridge border thing. I feel like Coco exists to be like kind of emotionally manipulative, but it's entertaining. It does its job. I'm emotionally manipulated and I like it. People who say this is overhyped because it's predictable, like, I don't, if I have another, I much prefer something being predictable but being like good to something unpredictable and bad. Spoiler alert, The Incredibles 2 does not go in the Brad category. The Incredibles 2 goes right in the middle of this is a movie. This is a movie, you know? I like how it's a mirror to The Incredibles. Like, it's basically the same movie with different characters. I think that's clever, you know? How would this person react in this situation? It's clever. I don't like the villain as much as I like Syndrome. And I think that, like, The Incredibles is a good balance of adult content. This is gonna sound weird. Adult content and family-friendly content. Content sounds like a strange word to use. Because when you say adult content, it's like, whoa, sex, drugs, violence, what? No, I'm talking about like conversation scenes. I feel like The Incredibles has a good balance of like adult conversations and like family conversations. Whereas The Incredibles 2 is like, it gives you whiplash. It's like, this is such an adult conversation. And then this is such like a kid, like I don't know how to put it. It's just like extremes. It doesn't feel as balanced. Like all the childish stuff feels more childish. And then all the adult stuff feels more adult. And it's just weird. And it's like, it's a good movie. Is it? I don't know. I'm glad that The Incredibles 2 exists just because my entire childhood I was like asking for an Incredibles 2. So I'm glad it actually exists. But I feel like I was going to be disappointed anyways whenever this came out in the theater and I watched it. And I was. But upon rewatch, I feel like some of that displacement was misplaced. But I still don't think this is like the best sequel we could have gotten. It's like, it's in the middle of this is a movie. You know, it's a movie. Then on to Toy Story 4. This was my first time watching Toy Story 4. I remember when they announced it and I was like, dude, is that necessary? And I wasn't really interested in it if it wasn't necessary, but I still had like hope that Pixar could make it necessary. And then I watched it and it wasn't necessary. It's above Finding Dory. I think it's a better sequel than Finding Dory. What can I say about this movie? I liked Forky, but I think Forky could have been a short. Like, really effectively could have had his entire character arc as a short. I liked some aspects of it, but for the most part, like, as an entire movie, there are concepts that I like, but like as a movie, it's not really, first of all, necessary, but like that's like broad and stupid and like, who cares? Is the movie good on its own? It's definitely fun, entertaining, much better than the do I care category of like, do I care? Yeah, it's a movie, you know? All right, now we get back to the good stuff. Then we have Onward, which is top of the list of goodly done. I love Onward. I know I spoiled that I like Dan Scanlon. Onward is like so close to being in the great category. It's like so close, but it's I've got issues with it, okay? I like the core dynamic. That's the best part. These two characters right here. Great. Even the dad. I include the dad, the leg dad. Don't Google leg dad drawception 2017, by the way. I like the leg dad and the kids. It's everything else about the movie that's like, I don't care about it. It's not even that I don't care about it, it's that it's annoying. It's like, it actively annoys me. Like, every other character that gets screen time, I'm annoyed in some way, shape, or form about. The mom is like the mom is fine. And Manticore is like on thin ice. Like, every other character I'm actively annoyed by. It's like, it's bad. Not the movie. The movie's great. The movie is almost great. It's almost in the great category, but it's in the good category. It's at the top of the list, though. Kinda sucks that Barley is voiced by Chris Pratt, not Jack Black, you know. That doesn't get points off for the movie. It's just, you know, the abundance of cop characters doesn't get points off the movie, but they are annoying, you know. I'm not just because they're cops. Like, it's fiction, I don't care, right? It's just they're annoying by themselves, even if they weren't cops. They're fucking annoying and their character designs are ugly. You're annoying and ugly. Oh, okay, so this is the one that I think could have learned a lot from Finding Nemo. I like the idea of this feeling, like the journey feels like a D&D campaign, and the obstacles feel like D&D obstacles, right? I like that aspect of it. But like, for the first half of the journey, the obstacles are like, they annoy me. I don't know what to say. I don't know why they annoy me. Like the Manticore's Tavern and the Pixies. I like the driving lesson thing. I like the driving in the Pixie one. But those first two annoy me. But then the bridge and then the Indiana Jones level, amazing. I love it. And then the final boss is incredible. In Finding Nemo, all the obstacles are like so creative. And sometimes they're not even obstacles, they're just like characters. They're just like weird characters, and none of them are annoying. They're all like their own thing. Like, even if they are annoying, they're like purposefully annoying. Whereas Onward, sometimes it feels like it's too easy, but that also kind of leans into the whole D&D campaign feel. So I don't know what it is about the front half of Onward, but the second half is like just, I love it. I really love it. And I think it's mainly because after the first half, it's mainly about the brothers, I think. So maybe that's it. I don't know. Onward is so close to being great, but it's top of the list of goodly done. Soul was another movie I hadn't seen until right now, and it kind of made me appreciate Inside Out more. Which is not a good thing to say. It's second place behind Inside Out in the Do I Care category, which sucks because I thought I would like Soul especially more than Inside Out. But like, I thought I would be surprised by Soul, like pleasantly surprised. I thought maybe it would give me like Luca and Coco type of like, I watched this and now I can't stop watching it kind of things. I didn't overhype it for myself. I just like, I had different possibilities in my mind, and I wanted Soul. I wanted to like Soul so badly. But it suffers from the exact same thing as Inside Out, but this time I don't like the like world. I think Soul is funnier than Inside Out for me personally, because Inside Out is very family friendly funny, whereas Soul is like just more generally funny. The inside of Inside Out, it's more colorful and like fun than the inside of Soul, which is like not as fun. I like the weird god creation characters. Well, I like most of them, and I like one side character. I like the spinny guy. What's his name? Something with a W. A bunch of W's. I like that guy. But do I like Soul? I don't know. I mean, it's not at the bottom of the bottom list, but it's at the bottom list. Listen, it feels like I'm getting these two movies, Inside Out and Soul, it feels like I'm getting preached to in a health class. And there's nothing you can do about it, because it's just like the character design and like the whole metaphor is the story that we're going, like, you can incorporate metaphors in your story without the story being the metaphor. I don't know what I just said, but I know that it's true. Okay. Next we have Luca. And after this entire journey, have I found out that like I'm overhyping Luca for myself? Has it fallen from its brand new grace or whatever? No, Luca is Bob. Listen. Luca is best of best. I don't know if I'll put it on number one. I think WALL-E is the better movie, right? I think Luca is a better movie than Coco, because Coco is emotional manipulation, right? But I'm entertained by it. Like, they did it right. It's not emotional manipulation like the metaphor is the story and the story is the metaphor. It's like there's actual characters experiencing actual things, doing things, moving the plot along, you know. Anyways, Luca is Bob. Listen, Luca is just a bunch of kids experiencing emotion. What am I saying? Experiencing emotion and driving their own plot forward. What am I saying? I don't know. Listen, it's a simple story. Okay? It's not a metaphor, right? It's a story. You know, there's a metaphor in that story. There's like fish people. That doesn't happen in real life. You know? But you know what does happen in real life? Little kids being anxious and like experiencing experiences for the first time with a core group of friends, and then that core group of friends experiences emotion with each other, and it's just real. It's just real, and it's cute, and it's, oh my god. You have to watch this with the lights off, with headphones. It's so... This film captures the epic highs and lows, the triumphs and defeats of being a neighborhood kid. Who knows where? Who knows why? Who knows who is supervising? In the summertime. And then you just like, for whatever reason, your friendship is like tested, right? But then you always come back like stronger in the end. I don't know. I don't know. This film brought me back to childhood in like a crazy way, and it's fantastic, and I love it. It's the best one. It's not. Is it the best one? Is it the best one? Here's the thing about Luca. It's formulaic, right? I mean, it's not even formulaic. It's just simple. Like, it's simple and predictable. I wouldn't say it's formulaic. I would say the weakness of Luca is that it's formulaic at the beginning. All of the, like, the fish family stuff is formulaic, right? But I don't think the story is actually formulaic. I think it's simple and predictable. But I think it's done really well and really interesting and really softly and subtly, right? Even if it's not. If something can be subtle and predictable at the same time, right? Right? Listen. This is it. This is my ranking. This is it. We've reached the end. This is definitive. This is fact. If you disagree, you're wrong. This is objective. I'm right. Have a good life.